Commander Aria Lorne stood at the highest tier of Sol Defense Command, framed by a panoramic display stretching from Earth's orbit to the distant scatter of Neptune's outer patrol grid. The incoming signatures flickered across the glass, thousands of red markers, drifting in relentless formation. No turbulence, no hesitation, no diplomatic shift in speed. The Vorex Dominion Armada was still accelerating. Her palms rested behind her back, posture still as iron. The control deck murmured around her, technicians exchanging quiet data, officers confirming shield calibrations, analysts watching the Armada's trajectory as if it were a closing storm no one could outrun. Aria absorbed each detail with the same collected focus she had cultivated since childhood. Panic never solved anything. Pressure sharpened judgment, or broke it. Humanity could not afford the second option. "Commander," Officer Redden called from navigation, "the Armada has crossed the Hell Ion threshold." She nodded. "Transmit Earth's final warning." "Full spectrum." The deck hushed. The last warning was not merely tactical. It was ceremonial, ancient in its phrasing and heavy with history. Humans had used it twice before. Both times, civilizations older than the Dominion had vanished from recorded space. Redden swallowed hard, then activated the channel. A calm, steady voice transmitted through every band. "Vorex Dominion Armada. Reverse course immediately. Proceed no further toward Sol. This is Earth's final warning." The message echoed across 5 languages, broadcast with absolute clarity. No threat, no plea, only certainty. Aria watched the red markers drift without deviation. "They won't stop," Redden murmured. "They never do," she replied. High Strategos Varkon stood on the command bridge of the Dominion flagship, a towering vessel carved with genetic motifs inherited across centuries. His armor gleamed with a dull violet sheen, plates shifting like living scales. The broadcast played overhead. He listened without expression. One of his officers stepped forward. "Strategos, shall we respond?" "No," Varkon said calmly. "Humans threaten when frightened. Their history is littered with warnings they were too weak to enforce." "Their silence is strange," the officer pressed. "No defensive surge, no fleet mobilization." Varkon turned his gaze toward the star map, a faint smile on his lips. "It means they have accepted their fate. Move us into pre-assault posture. I want this world neutralized before they attempt anything reckless." "Yes, Strategos." But when the officer walked away, Varkon's eyes narrowed slightly. The humans' final warning had been spoken as though they were the arbiters, not the threatened party. The calmness unsettled him more than enemy fire ever could. He dismissed the feeling. Humans were unpredictable, but still biological. Biology bent when crushed. He leaned back in his chair, confident again. Let Earth witness the Dominion's judgment. Aria stepped into the secure communications chamber. The door sealed behind her, filtering out the hum of servers and distant echoes of rising tension. A single terminal waited at the center. She activated Direct Link. The Dominion responded almost immediately. Varkon's image shimmered into view, tall, severe, predatory calm under shifting violet armor. His eyes studied her like a curious specimen. "Commander Lorne," he said. "You represent Earth in this moment?" "I do." Her tone remained level. "Turn your fleet away." He gave a soft laugh. "Your species negotiates with warnings, but warnings without force hold no meaning." "Force is not what we seek," Aria replied. "Survival is." "Survival?" Varkon leaned forward. "If you wished to survive, you would kneel. Humanity always resists logic. You stand alone in this galaxy, yet speak as though you carry the weight of empires." "We warned you once," she said. "Do not make us repeat ourselves." His expression tightened. "Your threats grow amusing. What do you believe you can do against us?" "That," Aria said quietly, "is the question you should have asked centuries ago." She ended the transmission without waiting for a reply. Deep beneath Earth's crust, lights awakened inside a chamber older than recorded human memory. The stonework had survived calamities, reformations, and planetary realignments. Geometric panels glowed in concentric patterns, pulsing like a heartbeat too ancient to name. Aria entered the subterranean chamber alongside 3 members of the final Protocol Oversight Council. Their blue-white holographic records hovered above the central construct, displaying layers of dormant quantum code and locked historical directives. Counselor Ives stepped forward. "Commander, the Armada's trajectory confirms hostile intent. All diplomatic channels have failed. The protocol must be considered." "Considered," Aria echoed softly, "not unleashed." Ives gave her a pointed look. "Earth cannot endure a war of attrition. If that fleet reaches orbit, humanity ends. The protocol exists for this exact scenario." Aria studied the chamber. She had examined its architecture for years, yet it still felt foreign. Not alien, human, but from a version of humanity that no longer existed. A civilization that had understood consequences at a scale the modern galaxy refused to comprehend. "The protocol was sealed because it cannot be reversed," she said. "Would you prefer extinction?" Ives asked. "No," she said quietly. "But activating this system changes more than war. It marks humanity forever." The chamber lights pulsed again, as if listening. "Commander," another counselor pressed, "the Vorex cross our boundary with full assault posture. Make your recommendation." She closed her eyes briefly. Images of Earth, oceans, mountains, orbital habitats, flashed through her mind. Billions of lives. Billions of futures. She opened her eyes. "If they cross the exclusion line, activate Theta sequence." "It will be done," Ives replied. Above them, Sol Defense Command shifted into silent readiness. Officers monitored the fleet's progress as the Dominion ships closed in. Hundreds of dreadnoughts spread like metallic wings, pushing aside debris fields, swallowing distance with unwavering precision. "Commander," Redden called as she stepped back onto the deck. "The Armada is minutes from the exclusion line." "Hold all defensive fire," she said. "We do not escalate." Redden inhaled sharply. "They'll think we're powerless." "That's their mistake," Aria answered. The deck lights dimmed as the fleet crossed Neptune's orbit. Sensor distortions rippled through the grid, subtle at first, then rapid and erratic. Dominion scouts reported sudden fluctuations, but Varkun dismissed them as solar interference. Aria watched the red markers spread like a virus through the final perimeter. "Impact range in 90 seconds, Redden whispered. The room stood utterly still. The first Dominion superdreadnought crossed the exclusion line. Aria spoke in a voice barely above breath. "Activate Theta sequence." The chamber beneath Earth roared to life. And silence followed. The moment Aria gave the order, every seismic sensor beneath Earth registered a surge that defied geological logic. Vibrations rolled through mantle layers and measured pulses, not chaotic tremors. Command officers stiffened as the lights steadied, then flickered once, as if acknowledging a long-awaited summons. Aria walked toward the primary display. The Dominion Armada filled the holographic panorama, towering dreadnoughts, fortress carriers, and escort formations arranged in predatory precision. They had not slowed. Not one vessel altered speed after crossing the exclusion line. The Vorex believed themselves beyond consequence. Yet Earth remained silent. "Commander," Redden called with a strained voice, "gravity readings across the outer perimeter are shifting again." "Magnitude?" "Low, but increasing in rhythmic intervals." "Pattern matches the Theta pre-sequence." Aria nodded. "Monitor oscillation frequency. Keep all vessels in passive stance." Another officer approached. "Ma'am, the fleet is compressing into assault wedges. Their carriers are powering weapon cores." Aria's expression stayed composed. "Let them commit." On the Dominion flagship, Varkun watched the same gravitational fluctuations with narrowing eyes. His analysts whispered among themselves, studying the irregular waves stretching across Sol's entry corridor. Strategos, one scientist said, the distortions are too structured to be natural. Their source is planetary rather than stellar. Explain, Varkan demanded. The scientist hesitated. Something under Earth is activating. Machinery, perhaps. But the scale is unprecedented. Another officer scoffed. Humans have no infrastructure capable of creating readings at this magnitude. Confidence can blind, Lieutenant, Varkan said dryly. Do not make assumptions without evidence. The scientist cleared his throat. The pulses repeat every 20 seconds. Frequency is rising. Gravitational pressure may destabilize our forward shield synchronizers. Varkan leaned back, contemplative. How soon before our formation experiences turbulence? Uncertain, the scientist admitted. But if the pulses escalate? Varkan cut him off. Then we advance faster. Their tactics are transparent. They hope to intimidate us with theatrics. He lifted his hand. Order the Armada to tighten formation. Begin final push. Aria observed the tightening wedge of enemy ships. Their determination confirmed everything she feared. Peaceful negotiation had ended the moment they ignored Earth's last message. Now, humanity's contingency, the one sealed long before she was born, moved toward activation like a rising tide. She stepped toward the tactical pit. Status on subterranean energy levels? A technician answered without looking up. All readings consistent with theta escalation. Subcrust chambers are sinking. We do not control the pace anymore. That was expected, Aria replied. The system was designed to regulate itself once unlocked. Redden turned toward her. And if the Armada opens fire first? We hold, she said. The protocol must trigger at full synchronization to be effective. Another officer looked uneasy. Commander, our lack of response may embolden them. Aria faced him calmly. Fear is not strategy. Allow them to believe anything they wish. Their interpretation does not change what comes next. The officer swallowed hard and nodded. The Dominion forward scouts broke ahead of the formation, slipping through Neptune's orbit with ease. Their hulls vibrated slightly from the gravitational pulses, but their systems reported no critical failures. They pressed deeper into the exclusion corridor. Inside a scout vessel, an officer adjusted her console. Readings are unstable. Our scanners cannot penetrate Earth's lower crust. Her captain frowned. Impossible. Even primitive worlds show some degree of transparency. Not this one, she said. It's as if the planet is deliberately blocking perception. Something is interfering with quantum resolution. The captain exhaled. Report findings to the strategos. Maintain approach speed. Back in Sol Command, Aria watched the digital map compress as the scouts advanced. Their eagerness only served the protocol's timing. Every step forward ensured their entanglement with what would soon awaken. Commander, a counselor announced through the secure channel, Theta Chamber 3 is fully active. Chamber 4 is progressing. Aria lowered her voice. How long until cascade completion? 9 minutes at current rate. Possibly less. Redden leaned toward her. They'll reach firing range before that. Aria studied the glowing red symbols rushing inward. They won't fire until they believe we are fully compromised. That arrogance buys us the time we need. On his flagship, Varkan evaluated the scouts' preliminary data. It made little sense. Earth's interior shifted like a living mechanism. The readings resembled engineered systems rather than geological layers. He summoned his intelligence chief. What technology could shape a planet's interior at this scale? None known to the Dominion, the chief admitted. If humans possess such capabilities, they have hidden them exceptionally well. Varkan's jaw tightened. Or they are bluffing. Artificial tremors, perhaps. Sensor interference. Psychological tactics. But strategos, the chief said carefully, the patterns are too refined. Varkan silenced him with a raised hand. Humans favor theatrics. They believe mystery amplifies fear. They do not realize that true power requires demonstration. Prepare to open fire when I give the command. The subterranean chamber beneath Earth glowed brighter as entangled structures aligned. Fractured monoliths lifted into place. Quantum circuits awakened with harmonic resonance spreading across continents. The system did not roar. It hummed with precision, each layer adjusting to the next in flawless sequence. Aria felt the vibrations under her feet. They were not tremors, they were footsteps, slow and deliberate, belonging to something built long before her time. A counselor spoke through the encrypted line. Chambers 1 through 5 are synchronized. Theta cascade begins in 3 minutes. Redden stared at his console. Commander, the entire oceanic crust just shifted by 2 micrometers. Not a shift, Aria said softly. A calibration. The deck fell silent. The Dominion Armada transitioned into final assault alignment. The first dreadnoughts powered their energy cores, weapon nodes illuminating like rising suns. Varkun stood tall, confident again. Human restraint felt like capitulation. Strategos, a sensor officer reported, Earth's seismic activity has reached anomalous stability. It no longer resembles tectonic motion. Then we have triggered their last defense, Varkun said. Strike before they reveal their next ruse. Firing sequence ready. He raised his hand. But froze. Every ship in his formation flickered simultaneously. Shield grids trembled. Gravimetric fields buckled for the briefest instant, then steadied again. It felt as if something enormous had exhaled across the system. Report. Varkun barked. The sensor officer stared at her screen, pale. Strategos, the disturbance originated beneath Earth's crust. The pulse magnitude exceeds dreadnought output by several orders. His confidence faltered. Impossible. No sir, she whispered. But very real. In sole command, the readouts steadied. Redden turned toward Aria. Commander, the protocol is fully aligned. She exhaled once, controlled, precise. Stand ready. The awakening begins. The gravitational pulse rolled through the Sol system like a quiet tide. And the Dominion Armada felt the first hint of dread. The pulse that spread through Sol was not violent. It carried no explosive shock, no destructive wave. Instead, it felt like the sudden thinning of air in a sealed chamber, a shift so absolute that every Dominion officer stopped mid-command. The fabric of space adjusted, bending in a silent arc that rippled through scanners before they collapsed into static. Aria stood at the center of Sol Command as the displays flickered, realigned, and froze on a single reading. The deck lights dimmed, then steadied in a soft white tone that matched the rhythm rising from beneath Earth's crust. No alarms sounded. The lack of sound unsettled everyone more than a battlefield's roar ever could. Redden swallowed hard. Commander, the system-wide silence isn't sensor failure. It's deliberate. Something is suppressing all outgoing signals. That's the first phase, Aria replied. The protocol isolates the battlefield before activating its core function. Another officer stared at his unresponsive console. External comms are gone. Even our deep space relays won't respond. It's like Sol doesn't exist to the outside. Aria nodded once. Exactly as intended. On his flagship, Varkun felt the tremor of dread before his officers gave him any data. Instinct forced him to grip the arm of his command chair. The bridge's primary screens were blank except for a thin line of distorted color, as if reality itself were misaligned. Status, he snapped. We've lost long-range perception, the sensor officer replied. Shields are fluctuating against an unknown field. Source? Earth. Everything originates from beneath the surface. Another officer added, Strategos, our dreadnought network can't maintain formation. Gravitational stability is failing. Varkun's voice lowered. How widespread? Entire armada, sir. He stood, armor plates sliding in tight mechanical ripples. Reinforced stabilizers. Prepare to fire once systems recover. Strategos. Do it, he ordered sharply. As his officers scrambled, a deeper silence filled the bridge. Not the absence of sound, something more complete. The kind of silence that replaced movement itself. For a moment, Varkan felt weightless, as if his body hovered outside the flow of space. Then the ship groaned. Metal strained in a slow, bending arc. Not from impact, gravity itself was reconfiguring around them. Report. Varkan demanded. The sensor officer's voice dropped to a whisper. Sir, something is rising from within Earth. It's not a weapon in the conventional sense. Our instruments cannot categorize it. Varkan stepped closer to the screen. The distortion stabilized just enough to show a faint structure expanding from Earth like an unfolding sphere. A lattice of translucent geometric bands stretched outward, each layer harmonizing with the next in perfect synchronization. What is that? He breathed. No one answered. In sole command, Aria watched the expansion with quiet focus. The sphere grew in a fluid arc, passing through ships, dust, and radiation as if gliding through water. It did not collide with anything. Instead, it converted matter and energy into synchronized resonance within its field. Redden stared in awe. Commander, it's phasing through physical objects without interaction. But anything inside it loses independent gravitational reference. Correct, Aria said. That's the containment field. Officers exchanged uneasy glances. A technician whispered, Ma'am, we aren't controlling it anymore, are we? Aria shook her head. Control was never part of the design. The protocol acts when humanity cannot survive without intervention. We only unlock it. Redden exhaled. So what's its objective? To neutralize the threat, she said. Nothing more. Nothing less. The Dominion Armada buckled as the sphere swept through its formations. Ships twisted slightly as local gravity reoriented, destabilizing shield grids. Weapons dimmed. Engines stuttered before reigniting under forced recalibration. It felt as though invisible hands were reshaping the battlefield, adjusting every variable with mathematical indifference. Varkan's command ship lurched sideways. Stabilize, he barked. We're trying, the field rewrites thrust trajectories faster than we can compensate. Override. We can't. The interference reacts before our commands trigger. Varkan clenched his fists. Then fire manually. Any ship with functional weapons is to target the field's origin. No ship obeyed. Every firing system remained cold. Strategos, the weapons officer whispered, the Armada cannot engage. The protocol preempts activation by altering energy flow. Varkan stared at the expanding sphere, feeling cold realization settle in his chest. This is not human engineering, he said quietly. No species known to the Dominion can manipulate spacetime this precisely. The sensor officer swallowed hard. Then where did the humans obtain it? Varkan looked at Earth. Perhaps they didn't obtain it. Perhaps they built it before they forgot who they once were. In sole command, Aria received the final confirmation. The next phase began. A second pulse radiated outward, so subtle it barely registered on instruments. Yet the effect was immediate. Dominion vessels froze mid-movement, engines humming with a forced stillness that no pilot commanded. They drifted like suspended relics in a museum display, powerless in a cosmic tableau. Redden stepped closer. Commander, the entire Armada has been immobilized. Not destroyed, an officer asked cautiously. Destruction is unnecessary, Aria said. The protocol evaluates threat levels. If they remain hostile, the core responds accordingly. A deep, resonant vibration filled the command deck. It didn't shake the air, it resonated through bone and thought. Earth's surface glowed faintly as buried structures aligned in a final sequence. Redden whispered, it's choosing. On the Dominion flagship, panic erupted. Our engines are locked. We cannot fire. The sphere is compressing around our formation. Varkan raised his voice above the chaos. Quiet. The bridge fell still, though fear lingered like smoke. Varkun approached the main viewport. The translucent sphere now encompassed the majority of his fleet, its layered geometry shimmering with alien precision. He felt something unfamiliar, helplessness. "Strategos," the intelligence chief said shakily, "we must open negotiations." Varkun exhaled slowly. "Yes. Patch me through." But when he attempted to transmit, there was no channel. No sound left the flagship. No signal reached Earth's orbit. They were sealed inside a silent prison. Varkun lowered his head. "We cannot negotiate. The protocol does not speak." The intelligence chief trembled. "Then what will it do?" Before Varkun could answer, the sphere contracted by a fraction of a millimeter. The entire armada screamed under the pressure. Not heat. Not impact. Compression of possibility itself. The ships flickered between states, hulls warping as gravitational pathways folded through them. It was not destruction, it was erasure. The flagship's deck lurched violently, and Varkun clutched the railing as panels shattered from dimensional strain. "Strategos," someone shouted. "The field is converting our mass into coherent data patterns." Varkun's eyes widened. "It's unmaking us." A final contraction wrapped the fleet in white brilliance. Then silence. Real silence. The armada was gone. Sol Command's displays blinked once, then reconnected to full clarity. The sphere retracted, folding inward until it vanished beneath Earth's crust. The system returned to natural gravitational flow. Stars brightened. Communication relays reactivated. Redden exhaled in disbelief. "It's over." Aria nodded. "Transmit final message to the galaxy." The officer typed, hands trembling. Aria looked out over the restored Sol system. Humanity stood quiet once more. But the galaxy would never forget the silence that answered their threat. The sun rose over Earth with unusual clarity. No haze, no atmospheric interference, not even the faint traces left behind by orbital tension. It was as though Sol itself exhaled after holding its breath through the awakening. For Aria Lorne, the stillness carried weight. Victory never felt triumphant when survival demanded such a high cost. She stood on the balcony of Sol Defense Command, watching orbital platforms glide along their tracks. Engineers reconnected systems severed during the protocol's field lock. Civilian networks stabilized one by one, returning life to the ordinary hum of daily existence. From a distance, Earth looked untouched. But beneath its surface, the ancient machinery slept again, dormant yet listening. Redden joined her, carrying a data slate. Reconstruction reports from the outer perimeter. No structural damage. Some gravitational anchors need recalibration, but nothing critical. "Good," Aria said softly. She kept her gaze on the sky. "Any salvage from the armada?" He hesitated. "Nothing recognizable. The protocol didn't destroy them the way we understand destruction. It erased their quantum coherence. There isn't debris, only residual energy signatures fading out." Aria nodded. She had expected as much. The protocol's design didn't revolve around conventional tactics. It removed threats without creating ruins to sift through. Clean, precise, emotionless. Redden glanced at her carefully. "How are you handling everything?" Aria's reply was steady. "We protected Earth. That had to come first." "You sound detached." "Detachment is sometimes the only way to continue." Redden looked down at the slate. "The Council wants a public statement from you. People need clarity. They want reassurance." Aria breathed deeply. "I'll speak when I have something worth saying." Across the galaxy, confusion tore through star systems. Dominion outposts awaited reports that never arrived. Their long-range beacons showed Sol as a blank void for hours before readings returned, too late for comprehension. Border colonies sent frantic transmissions to the Dominion High Council, demanding explanation. Fear overtook arrogance. In the Dominion capital, an emergency session erupted inside the circular hall of governance. Dozens of officials argued across shimmering platforms. The absence of Varkun's fleet shattered long-held assumptions. They challenged Earth without adequate intelligence, one official shouted. They underestimated a species that issues warnings with precision, another countered. A senior counselor raised his voice. We need to understand the mechanism. What power did humanity awaken? You suggest negotiation, someone scoffed. I suggest caution, the counselor replied. We've lost an armada. Earth issued a final message. Ignore it, and we may lose more. Silence settled. For the first time in centuries, the Dominion faced something beyond conquest, fear of the unknown. In Sol Command's central chamber, the Oversight Council met Aria for a debrief. They stood around a large circular holodeck displaying Earth's subsurface structure. The protocol's bypassed architecture glowed faintly through layered schematics. Counselor Ives began, Commander, the data shows the system returned to full dormancy. No further pulses, no active resonance. That's expected, Aria said. It doesn't act unless Earth is threatened. Still, another counselor added, the galaxy is aware of our capabilities now. That changes everything. Aria kept her voice composed. Capabilities are irrelevant if no one provokes another incident. Do you think that's realistic? The counselor asked. Dominion allies may interpret our silence as hostility. Others may see it as opportunity. Aria's eyes drifted to the table's center. Then diplomacy must carry weight again. If we rely solely on that system, we become dependent on fear. Counselor Ives studied her carefully. You seem troubled. I executed a decision that shaped the fate of an entire armada, Aria said. No commander bears that lightly. But I'd make the same choice again. Humanity deserved to survive. The room grew quiet. Ives nodded. The Council wishes to offer you a new position. Director of Sol Strategic Affairs. You will oversee all future interactions between Earth and external powers. Aria blinked, taken off guard. You want me as liaison between humanity and a galaxy now terrified of us? Yes, Ives said. Because you understand restraint. Aria didn't answer immediately. She needed time to reconcile duty with conscience. Later that evening, she visited the Theta chamber alone. The descent took several minutes, each level colder and illuminated only by soft blue light. When she reached the bottom, the vast structure stood silent, pillars carved with human symbols, crystalline arcs reflecting no shadows. The architecture remained unchanged, yet something in the air felt different, as if echoes lingered from the awakening. She placed a hand on the nearest pillar. It remained cool, lifeless, offering no response. Good, she thought. Earth didn't need another surge. Peace required quiet machinery, not roaring power. A faint voice echoed behind her. You come here searching for answers? Aria turned to see Counselor Ives entering the chamber. I'm here to understand the cost, she said. That is wisdom, he replied. But don't confuse guilt with responsibility. Aria faced the crystalline core. I don't regret what happened. I regret the necessity. As any leader should, Ives said. But humanity survived. That matters. She returned her attention to the dormant core. Do you trust the galaxy to avoid provoking us again? Ives exhaled. Fear can restrain aggression. But fear alone isn't a foundation for lasting peace. Aria's gaze hardened. Then we must reveal enough truth to prevent misinterpretation. Not the full protocol, but enough to show that Earth seeks coexistence. Ives nodded slowly. Then your answer is clear. Accept the directorship. Guide the future. She didn't respond aloud, but the decision settled in her mind with quiet certainty. The next day, she addressed the planetary broadcast. Billions watched from cities, orbital platforms, and distant colonies linked by reactivated networks. Aria stepped into the light. Citizens of Earth, she began, voice steady, you have endured days of uncertainty. Today, I speak to clarify what occurred and what must follow. She described the Dominion's approach, the ignored warnings, and the activation that saved humanity. She omitted details capable of spiraling into fear but kept the truth intact. We do not seek domination, she said. We seek survival. The system beneath our world exists as a final safeguard, not a tool of conquest. It will remain dormant unless Earth faces extinction again. Her expression softened. We move forward through dialogue, not intimidation. We cannot build a future in shadows. We must lead with clarity, firmness, and hope. The broadcast ended. Afterward, Redden approached her on the command balcony. Your address was perfect. Aria offered a small smile. Let's hope it resonates across more than our own world. Will you accept the directorship? She looked at the sky, peaceful, bright, renewed. Yes, she said. Someone must ensure we never stand on that edge again. Redden nodded. Then humanity's future just became steadier. Aria watched the horizon. The protocol slept. The galaxy trembled at the memory of its awakening. But Earth stood ready, not as a conqueror, not as a tyrant, but as a species that understood the value of restraint. She whispered into the quiet morning air. Let silence be enough.